Today we're going to be working in my workbook called In the Beginning, which is Genesis 1 through Genesis 5. We have already worked the first 4 chapters. We've started with the 7 days of creation, and then we concentrated on the 6th day, which was the creation of Adam and Eve. Then we studied the fall of man when they ate the fruit from the tree of good and evil. Then we heard the story of Cain and Abel, and the first murder that was in the Bible. Now we're going to be in the family of Cain, the murderer, and what has happened in his family. So let's go to chapter 5. Chapter 5 is kind of a weird chapter. It's not often read about. So I hope you can follow me when I proceed through this. Genesis 4:17 through 24. The scripture says, God made love to his wife. The wife again, remember where the wife came from. It had to be from Adam and Eve. And she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain then built a city and he named it after his son Enoch. So who had to be the mother and father of Cain's wife? Adam and Eve had to be the mother and father of Cain's wife. What was the name of Cain's son? Enoch. Now, note that this is not the same Enoch that we meet later from the line of Seth. Unfortunately, Cain's line and Seth's line borrow names or use the same names, and so that can get really confusing in the storyline. Who built a city? Cain built a city. And what was the name of the new city? He named it Enoch after his son. In order for there to be a city, there had to be a lot of people, Cain's relatives, that followed Cain into the land of Nod, which was east of Eden. Who had to be the original ancestors to all these people? Adam and Eve. We know that God marked Cain so that no one would kill him. Do you think his ancestors also have this mark? Why or why not? I don't believe that they would also have had the mark. There was no reason. They didn't people wouldn't be after him to be killed. So there'd be no reason to have the mark. To Enoch was born Irad. To Irad was the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael was the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah was the father of Lamech. And again, Lamech we're going to see on the other line too. They're not the same people. So, and those names are difficult. I don't know that I'm saying them correctly. So I'll be happy. Won't have any problem if someone says I said them wrong. So complete the family tree to the right from Adam to Lamech. So put Adam, Cain, Enoch, Irad, Mehujael, and Lamech. For each man to have a son, he had to have a what? He had to have a wife, right? Even though only one son is listed for each man on this tree, do you think they had more children? Yes, I believe they did. Each generation seemed to have more sons and daughters than what is listed. We're apparently listing just the major lines. Who is Adam's grandson? Adam's grandson is Adam's grandson. Probably Enoch, right? Yes. Yeah, Adam's grandson is Enoch. And who is Cain's grandson? Cain's grandson is Irad. And then who is Lamech's grandfather? Lamech's grandfather is Mehujael, using the H sound for the J there, Mehujael. So the scripture continues. Lamech married 2 women, one named Adah and the other Zillah. And Adah gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who lived in tents and raised livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all who played stringed instruments and pipes. Why they had to name their sons Jabal and Jubal to make it difficult to understand their names, I don't know, but apparently they did. How many wives did Lamech have? He had 2 wives. What were the names of his 2 wives? Ada and Zillah. In the Garden of Eden, how many wives did God make for Adam? He made only 1 in the Garden of Eden. Based on God's design, how many wives is a man to have? Based on God's design, man is only to have 1 wife. Which wife of Lamech had 2 sons? Ada had 2 sons. Ada's first son was whom? Jabal. 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 What was Jabal the father of? Or that is the person who started. It was the father of people who lived in tents and raised livestock. No, this doesn't mean he was the first to have livestock, as Abel had livestock, but he was the first of a line of people who were tent dwellers raising livestock. Who was Adol's second son? Jubal. Jubal. And what's Jubal the father of? He was the father of all who stringed instruments and pipes. Since these peoples were descendants of Cain, does this mean living in tents and raising livestock or playing music and instruments is bad? Why or why not? No, it's not bad. What they were doing was not bad. Otherwise, we'd really have trouble now with all the music that we hear and people that live in tents and raise livestock. So their actions aren't bad. And the sin of Cain is not being pushed onto his children. And thus they sin as well. The scripture continues. Zillah, his Lamech's second wife, also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Okay. So Zillah had a son and daughter. What was the son's name? The son's name was Tubal-Cain, or Tubal-Cain. What was Zillah's daughter's name? Naamah. What was Tubal-Cain famous for? He forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. In Cain's line, we have farmers, musicians, and craftsmen. Does this match well with caveman theory taught in public school? No, it doesn't. I haven't heard of any caveman who could sing and had musical instruments. To the right are some ancient tools. Can you decide what they may have been used for? I would imagine chiseling, making lumber, making carving things, various things like that. Tools for living, these things. Scripture continued. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to me. Wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Now notice, he is saying this. God isn't saying this. Lamech is saying this, and he's basically carrying on the evil of his great-grandfather, or however that is, how far down he goes on the line. What had Lamech done just like his great-great-great-grandfather? There you go. He killed a man. Why had he done that? Because the man had wounded him. Was Lamech remorseful about this action? No, he wasn't remorseful at all. When Lamech says, if Cain shall be avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times, what is he talking about? He's talking about the fact that God protected Cain from being killed by his enemies. But God did not protect Lamech from being killed from his enemies. So he's boasting on something he really has no proof of. Who had said that Cain would be avenged 7 times? It would be God. Did God say this also about Lamech? Absolutely not. What is some evidence in the scripture about Lamech that proves his relationship with God is not good? First, he has 2 wives, and he killed a man wounding him, and he's boastful about his actions. So it doesn't sound like he has a relationship with God. And now we come to the crossword, the family of Cain. So number 3, let's make sure in case I get caught here. Number 3. Who was the father of all who lived in tents and raised livestock? Number 3, Jabal, Jabal. was the father of all who lived in tents and raised livestock. Number 5, Lamech married 2 women, Adah and Zillah, Zellah. Number 7, what is Cain's first son name? Cain's first son is Adah. No. Cain's first son's name. I don't remember. Well, there you go. I can't remember, and it's not listed in my book here, so bear with me. Enoch. Cain's first son's name was Enoch. One down. Tubal Cain's sister's name was Naaman, Naaman. 2, Tubal Cain forged a lot of tools out of bronze and iron. Number 4, who is Jubal's mother? Jubal's mother is Adah. And then what is Methushel's son's name? I don't remember what is Methushel's son's name. Methushel's son's name is Lamech. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. This was a little tough. Certainly scriptures that aren't usually talked about. Thank you.